Greetings, faithful viewer. I just robbed a CoinStar. Which means we can now do whatever we want. So let's go buster some Daves and dive into one of the greatest Star Wars arcade games.
I'm on the leader.
Well, here it is, the most eagerly awaited arcade game of the year, the brand new Star Wars. Sound familiar? Let's check out the action.
Rick 5, I'm going in.
There's a pretty extensive history of Star Wars arcade games. I remember way back when getting to try out the first one from 1983, complete with those vector graphics.
I'm hit, but not bad. R2, what are you gonna do with it?
Even though I saw it as this ancient, decrepit cabinet, I thought it was a pretty neat and impressive novelty.
Yahoo! You're all clear, kid!
It was about a 25-year-old game at the time, and it blows my mind that a particular other Star Wars arcade cabinet has reached that milestone. That's right, the chosen one. Don't pretend like you don't know, it's Sega's Star Wars Trilogy arcade. Any joint, any respectable establishment that had this cabinet was the place to be. I remember it like yesterday, being a little trash can, hoping to finally get my turn. People would gather around this thing to watch you play, or maybe get a sneak peek at someone playing a stage you never got to see because you were a poor, smooth-brained goober with only 2 quarters to your name. He doesn't like you. No one does. Those days were awesome. Hey! We don't serve your kind here. Trash cans? No. YouTubers. Now stop reminiscing and get out of here.
Attention all wing pilots. Stand by to receive orders.
Of course, Sega's history with Star Wars in the arcade started with their 1993 game. I never actually did get to experience this one on an actual cabinet, nor have I ever seen one in action, but it's a really impressive game in its own right. Less about emulating scenes from the movie, and more just about capturing the feeling of being an X-Wing pilot, with you having actual control over your speed and maneuvering your ship in open space. You're taking down entire Star Destroyers and fighting TIEs over the Death Star in these really fast-paced sequences. You can see just what would develop into Star Wars Trilogy Arcade only 4 years later.
A Scout Walker.
What was really mind-blowing about Star Wars Trilogy Arcade for me was that it allowed me to peer into moments of the saga I hadn't even seen yet. This was like witnessing the New Testament. To catch you all up to speed, the order I saw the saga in was 4, 1, 2, 5, 6, and then finally 3 when it came out. Which also happens to be the last 4 of my social. There you go. Don't say I never did nothing for you. So there were actually these agonizing years of my early life where I didn't really know much about Empire or Return of the Jedi aside from their posters, some snippets, or parodies I'd seen in other shows.
Stop! Listen, I think you two should be fighting a bugger back a google gigi baba gaba fiji baba google.
I had a very fragmented view of the original trilogy before I finally got to watch it. The trilogy cabinet had the poster for Jedi on its sides, and I would just stare at that thing in awe. There was also the exhilaration of walking by and seeing some schmuck hog the cabinet and getting a glimpse of things like Luke fighting Boba Fett, or even that final throne room duel with Darth Vader. And the cool thing about this game is it just let you dive right into whichever of the 3 episodes you wanted, meaning I could experience the thrill of certain moments from the saga that I hadn't even seen yet. So when I finally watched Empire Strikes Back when I was around 7 years old, I was wondering when the heck the Wampas were gonna show up on Echo Base. Or when is Luke gonna get to go toe-to-toe with Boba Fett in an epic Jedi vs. Jetpack duel? Here we go! Oh. Okay. All these years later, though, I never actually got to experience Star Wars Trilogy Arcade the entire way through. I wasn't good, I sucked, I only had a few quarters, and I was poor as shit. This cabinet used to be a staple of every arcade, pizza place, whatever, but slowly over time, these cabinets were getting phased out around me, or breaking down, and by the time Dave & Buster's dropped the Battle Pod, it expectedly became much harder to find 25 years later. But now, I finally tracked one down, and I am a fully grown trash can with more quarters than you could possibly imagine. The New Hope level is probably the one people remember best, and with good reason. Even if you completely sucked, you generally could get through it with like 1 or 2 credits alone. Getting to experience the thrill of the trench run very much was worth the price of admission. It's the type of sequence we've seen in plenty of Star Wars games before and after it, but for a time, this was the most visceral way to experience that iconic moment. Sega did a really incredible job on a technical level of emulating the sheer energy of that moment. Getting to play it all again on real hardware was a nice treat too. Even if the aiming of the joystick was clearly a bit run down from all the years of abuse, it still worked well enough that I had a blast. Also just love the presentation behind the UI, how you get these scrambled Rebel Intel transmissions, and I know people say this shit all the time, but damn, do I remember these Rebels here looking a lot more lifelike and detailed. I think this was the level I actually played most as a kid, just for how exciting it was for me to jump into Empire Strikes Back, both before and after I'd seen it. I remember the sheer panic of trying to shoot down the oncoming fire from these AT-STs before they reached me. This really was where the story usually ended for me though, because I was quarterless and I sucked. Fast forward to now, and it's a pretty easy level with a lot of fun spectacle to it, like shooting down the AT-AT's necks and those pesky little probe droids, which are still hard to hit. Next section is our first on-foot stage, with you escaping Echo Base. I thought I was Han Solo, but I guess you're just like a nameless Sega Dreamcast Rebel number 2. These levels are pretty straightforward and easy. The more accurate you are, the more you can build up your multiplier, which makes for a fun challenge. On a real arcade cabinet though, yeah, this is not in the realm of possibility for me. Even then, shooting down these stormtroopers just feels so slick, and getting to take on some Wampas was a nice nod to Empire's infamous deleted scene. I have so many memories of seeing the continue screen at this specific moment, both through my own playthrough and in passing. One thing I learned pretty quick is that you can use the secondary fire on the arcade stick to increase your fire rate, letting you take down these Wampas much faster. I never would have realized that as a kid. Oh, but before we jump into Return of the Jedi, that's where we get our first special stage with Boba Fett. I remember this fight seeming so daunting, but it's a breeze. It really is a special stage, just a fun little victory lap. And man, using the actual arcade stick to control your lightsaber feels so satisfying here. And that goes double for the other special stages where you face off with Vader in the Emperor's throne room. For the longest time, this was my glimpse at what the final duel with Vader looked like. Luke with the green lightsaber facing Vader in a strange dark location with a sprite of Sheev in the background. And let me tell you, the lightsaber duel and the feedback of the controls just feels so buttery smooth and satisfying, even on an aged cabinet. This would have been perfect for like the Wii eShop or PS Move, and the fact that you can reignite your lightsaber at will, classic. Somehow, it's the Return of the Jedi stages I played the least. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was because I thought there was a chance I could get through these in chronological order on a few quarters. Never happened. But this speeder bike level is one I don't think I played more than a few times until now. It's a fun, fast section, and unique from the other vehicle levels as you have a bit more of maneuverability to the controls. Next stage is your last ground assault, shooting down stormtroopers and rescuing Ewoks and taking down an AT-ST in a boss battle. One thing you might miss if you're not familiar with the actual cabinet is this little event button. You see, during certain sections of a level, this button will glow, and if you press it, it will do things like call over some X-Wings for backup. A lot of times these happen with no obvious on-screen prompt, but there is this little Rebel insignia in the corner, which will occasionally show up indicating that you can trigger these events, like having some Ewoks help you out or taking down AT-ATs on Hoth. It's just one of those little details where you need to have knowledge of the OG cabinet to properly experience.
The shield is down. Commence attack on the Death Star's main reactor.
The final stage sees you flying inside the Death Star 2 and blowing up its reactor core. Finally getting to experience this moment all these years later was something so special. It's a stage not everyone would see, yet it has as much attention to detail and love poured into it as the opening stages, and damn did it leave me wanting more. Over 25 years later, I'm sad Sega never took another crack at this formula, especially since Star Wars is just begging for it. Could you imagine how incredible a prequel trilogy arcade would be, especially if they did the same late 90s Sega aesthetic? Think of it, you could do the Battle of Naboo, lightsaber stages with Darth Maul and General Grievous. They could even do an Order 66 stage where you just survive as long as you can. But we don't live in that world, and we don't even live in one where Star Wars Trilogy Arcade has a console port. You'd think Sega and LucasArts would port it to Dreamcast, or maybe even PS2 eventually, but no. And our best bet now is maybe getting an arcade one-up cabinet of it one day. Hooray, I guess. At least now, after all these years, I've finally experienced the greatest Star Wars arcade game.